Thank you for taking the time to play this video. I have some interesting stories to tell. I have irrefutable evidence of fraud or abuse by judges, court staff, the police, the SRA, HM Land Registry, DVLA, and many other parties. I have a vast amount of evidence of malfeasance or unlawful conduct by approximately 10 judges to varying degrees of abuse or criminality, from Deputy District Judge, Circuit Judge, High Court Judge, to the President of the First Tier Tribunal. I even have email evidence of misinformation from the Court of Appeal, which I believe was intended to cause a loss for me and a gain for others. I have suffered over 5 years of harassment, from gangs being sent to my property to block me in and be provocative, physical assault, aggravated trespass, theft, and much more. I have faced unlawful civil court proceedings and threatening pre-action protocol letters from my neighbours' solicitors in relation to co-owned land, threatening to sue me for all that I own and have worked for, which caused me an immense amount of harm. Making the crimes and abuses public is now the only option available to me. Due to judicial corruption and abuse, there is no judicial remedy available to me in the domestic courts, or not at least until I have made these crimes public, and the light is on the judiciary, perhaps for the first time. So please join me on this journey and subscribe to the social media accounts as I expose the inner workings of the utterly corrupt UK government and judiciary in a way that has never been shown before. Over the coming weeks and months, I will lay before you as much evidence as the law allows me to make public. That evidences corruption on a vast scale, starting where the most immediate danger lies for me at this time, the judiciary and the police. The story I have to tell is so unbelievable, I ask you not to believe me, but instead examine the evidence I will lay before you and you will see the truth for yourself. There will be no need for belief. I ask you to come with an open mind, without judgments, and jump into conclusions. When it comes to seeking truth, judgments are of no value and act as a colour filter that obscures or taints your vision. The courts have acted totally against court procedure, law, and the very principles of a justice system, and partaking in bullying and taking advantage of someone they knew who could not defend themselves. This judicial misconduct was perpetrated in order to aid claimants, lawyers, and other judges. Questionnaire that deals with mediation and disclosure of documents. Disclosure of vital documents therefore did not happen. This serious abuse of process by the courts was so that I would not find out the truth from the claimants and other parties about a particular document that we are in dispute over. Despite writing to County Court Manager approximately a year and a half ago for an explanation, she still has not responded and is in breach of her duties to deal with the complaints and court misconduct. Please see here the 2 emails for yourself. For approximately a year and a half, Judge Prigg and Haley have dodged my questions. For the first hearing, I will show you evidence that the judge was changed at the last minute to a judge that just a few years prior to the hearing worked at 2 of the law firms that worked on the main document in dispute. That was Judge Davey. I will show you evidence that Judge Prigg expedited the hearing, only giving me a fraction of the time a litigant should have to compile their defence, where I had to work 18-hour days to build my case, which caused me immense harm. This is one of many abuses by Judge Prigg. The transcript of the hearing does not match what was said in the hearing. Either the transcript company has fraudulently misrepresented information, or the courts have edited the recording. For this to be altered is clearly a very serious criminal offence, for which the party or parties responsible can spend years in prison. This significantly damaged my appeal. The judge refused to provide me a copy of the recording despite my clear reasoning and evidence provided. Having an audio copy of the hearing that all parties attended should not be controversial if there is nothing to hide. This part of the system urgently needs to change, so by default litigants have a right to the recording. This will reduce the game playing and the abuses by judges. With my appeal, I have a telephone recording proving I was misadvised by the Bristol Court's appeal manager, put me in breach of civil procedure rules to harm my case, which it did. I have a telephone recording of the same manager trying to humiliate me. I have faced ignorant and rude court staff slamming the phone down on me, stopping me from conducting and making applications for my case. I had to copy the police into emails sent to the court in order to try to get the court staff to stop their misconduct, and ask the police to take action regarding the criminality within the courts. The police thus far have refused to perform their duty, as I will evidence in due course. I have an important email from a court manager that states a judge was fully aware of the abuse that I was facing from staff. This email indicates that the crimes and abuses were therefore orchestrated by a judge, presumably the judge that was dealing with the case, Judge Rawton. I will show you this evidence in due course, and I will show you an email response from the judge to this abuse. I even have a without prejudice letter from the courts in response to a complaint. For those who aren't aware, a without prejudice letter is a letter that the courts do not usually allow in any future court proceedings, as it indicates an attempt to come to a settlement between the parties, which the courts claim they wish to encourage, but clearly not in my case, where the courts have been used as a weapon against me. The idea was to try to get me to accept a few £100 settlement for the sabotage of my case, where there's hundreds of thousands of pounds at stake, and the abuses that I faced for the court. How perverse that the court wished to hide its actions from another judge should I wish to sue the Ministry of Justice, and this really speaks for itself. I have evidence of the court creating orders that did not give me enough time to respond, and the court claiming they sent orders on particular times that I did not receive and I do not believe were ever sent. Corrupt judges have even gone as far as signing me up to lifetime contractual obligations for which there is absolutely no lawful basis. Judge Rawton found a document binding on me against law and reason and in breach of CPR. Judge Judge Prigg have fraudulently signed a TR1 transfer document on my behalf against my will in my capacity as a beneficiary, and by doing so have committed fraud. I will provide you the evidence in due course. The fact that the judges have ruled acting against law and reason does not make their actions lawful unless it really is a lawless, abusive judiciary where anything goes and where each judge acts as a little dictator, a tyrant, acting for the benefit of their friends and colleagues, as has happened here. I will show you evidence his dishonour. Judge Rawton engineered proceedings to attempt to take me to the very edge of bankruptcy in relation to costs for my appeal, which does not usually carry the risk of paying the other party's costs if the case is dismissed. There is another litigant that has created a website complaining of very similar abuses from Judge Rawton and Bristol court staff, where I understand they made false criminal allegations about him and he had to defend in court and won. If I have been successful in laying the evidence before you, and you have been inquisitive and examined the evidence and questioned your own conditioning, you will see there is absolutely no justice system that you can rely on. You will see that we have been sold a grand ideal, a fantasy story regarding truth and justice and the honour of judges. It is a wonderful ideal, an idea that I thought was reality, that law was set in stone and that you can turn to a benevolent parental type figure as portrayed in the Lady Justice sculpture, who with an even hand is prepared to wield the sword of justice without fear or favour to protect those under her care. But our justice system sadly does not even come close to this ideal. It is a pit of corruption, as the evidence I have proves. No truly honourable person would force another to call them honourable. A truly honourable person would never force another to put them on a pedestal. Only a judge operating in a manner of a dictatorial tyrant would do such a thing, who attempts to condition the mind of the litigant to see themselves in a diminished capacity and authority. This is also done with the distasteful way judges can speak to litigants, as they did with me. This is the game that is being played the moment you enter the court, to have dominance over you, to take away your power. And if you don't accept the game, the abuse, they can pull the card of contempt of court. Being scammed by the legal industry, where the vast part of the legal industry acts as a cartel, where lawyers collude with the other side behind the backs of their clients to the detriment of their clients, while scamming their clients for thousands and thousands of pounds. In order to aid parties, no genuine lawyer would act for me and take my instructions. I have contacted over 50 law firms and barristers' chambers all over the country during the pandemic and after, when many were sat at home without work, but most stating they did not have enough time to take on my case. Not one said I did not have a case, as I do have a case. And they would do if that were the issue. I will show you the evidence. Knowing that I was being victimised by the legal industry, and where no lawyer would act for me, judges willingly and deliberately breached Article 6 of the Human Rights Act, my right to a fair trial, as I stood no chance of getting a fair trial without a lawyer acting for my best interests, as I do not properly know court procedure or law. I have email evidence to show corruption by SRA staff attempting to interfere with my right to make complaints about lawyers. I have email evidence of unlawful conduct by MP Rebecca Powell that may be an attempt to pervert the course of justice, a very serious criminal offence. After numerous emails first over a year ago, I still await a full explanation from her. I have correspondence and telephone recordings that evidence fraud by DVLA staff, who have effectively revoked my licence without any evidence, as there is none. Acting against law, using a malicious third-party report that was made just before the final court hearing over the land in December 2022. This was clearly intended to take time away from my preparation and damage my case, which it did. I was told by DVLA staff that my licence may be revoked the day of the hearing. The report may have been made by the claimants themselves or another party. I wait to hear back from another party. DVLA will not disclose this information. Despite me putting DVLA on notice of claim, they have destroyed some of the evidence. The clear crimes and abuses have been signed off by DVLA lawyer, and I understand the Minister for Transport. There is another reason why I believe this was done, and that is to stop me from being able to run my business as I'm a self-employed artist. A different way to try to bankrupt me and to force me to move to cover up crimes and abuses. A DVLA lawyer has also knowingly put me in danger where I can be killed or crippled in an accident on the dangerous roads I now have to cycle as I live out of town, with vehicles going past at 60 to 70 miles per hour. This has been done in the name of road safety. I haven't had a driving accident in approximately 15 years, and I have no active points on my licence that I'm aware of, and there is absolutely no reason why I should not be driving. It is my right. You should be very concerned that small-minded and corrupt public servants can be judge and jury and run malicious action against the public they are meant to serve. Put you in a position where they can destroy your life and your livelihood, where you can become bankrupt and repossessed and lose some enjoyment of life and your right to run a normal life. But I will come to this later. You should not concede any more power to this corrupt and abusive state. I am in a very precarious position indeed, as I stand against abuse and corruption by the four pillars of power. The judiciary, the police, politicians and the legal industry. As things stand, I have no access to justice in the UK courts. I believe only once in the history of the UK judiciary has a judge ever been held to account for corruption. The state will try to have you believe this is because we have an honourable and trustworthy judiciary. But this is far from the truth, and clearly it would be naive and stupid to draw that conclusion. This merely evidences an opaque and wholly unaccountable judicial system where wrongdoing is kept hidden by the judges and the laws that judges have made for themselves, and where there is no effective mechanism to hold corrupt judges to account. You see, judges were lawyers. Lawyers are some of the most corrupt people in society, and judges have come from that place. So why would they all of a sudden start to be honourable, having been some of the most harmful people you can imagine? This is the delusion, this is the deception. This is the deception that has been portrayed to the people. You may not realise that we have one of the most opaque and unaccountable judicial systems in the world, where it is said that UK judges cannot be prosecuted for their crimes they have committed in their judicial function. Everyone should be able to be held to account under the law, including judges. And although we have a separation of powers, we have to a large degree spineless politicians who will never speak out and find fault with the judiciary, or the politicians are so up to their necks in corruption they dare not speak out against judges. Unfortunately, due to my precarious position and lack of time, I cannot make a complete documentary as I would like to do before presenting it to you, as that will probably take me over a year. This will be approached in a manner that I approach an artwork, sketching in the rough idea as I'm doing here, revisiting areas again and providing the evidence and refining the entire piece as I go until the art is complete and the message imparted. And I will ask you to look further than the evidence of corruption that I will lay before you, to examine and question the entire political and judicial structure that we have in the UK today and its subservience to the King. By the end, you may also have a better understanding of how it's come to pass that many thousands of people have faced unlawful, malicious prosecution and imprisonment, such as the postmasters, and some individuals like Julian Assange imprisoned for years in solitary confinement. In relation to Assange, and my case for that matter, the evidence points to the judiciary being in breach of the law and these two remaining parts of the Magna Carta, which are, to no one will we sell, no one will we deny or delay right or justice. My case proves the judiciary can turn on each one of you, even if you're a good-natured, law-abiding citizen. The next part of the Magna Carta is, no free man shall be seized, imprisoned, disposed of, outlawed, exiled or ruined in any way, nor in any way proceeded against, except by the lawful judgment of his peers and the law of the land. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but don't you take peers to mean a jury? As I wouldn't say High Court judges, who are agents of the King, agents of the elite, are my peers? Anyway, I digress. My case alone proves the judiciary are out of control, with judges bringing themselves and the entire judicial system into disrepute. And given that they are appointed by the King and therefore agents acting for the King, their misconduct also besmirches the King's name. And given that it was stated by the former Lord Chief Justice, I think his name is Lord Burnett, the sovereign remains the fountain of justice. Then the King remains ultimately responsible for the injustice and the criminality and unlawful conduct of his judges, and where there is no effective mechanism for the public to hold corrupt judges to account. In order to help me, please share my videos and my accounts far and wide, even though you have not seen all the evidence yet. I can't change the corrupt system on my own. Only together with your help can I expose the criminality and abuse that is pervasive within the judicial system and government. Please see the other videos with the evidence and help me create a more equitable and beautiful world. If we don't take action to create the world we wish to see and live in, it will never happen. And our freedoms and our rights will continue to be trampled over and eroded by the most powerful and unaccountable. Please, right now, take just a few seconds to share this video. It will cost you nothing, but it may make the world of difference to me and this situation. Thank you.